We lose about 40,000 lives on our roadways every single year. That's
Wow,
roughly about
40,000.
120 people per day.
Wow.
If you could imagine, a regional jet crashing every single day full of passengers, I think we
Oof.
would be asking for some type of a change and an immediate change.
Well
And
stated. This episode is brought to you by CSG. CSG's SaaS solutions optimize every step of the tolling journey, from billing and payments to customer engagement, helping agencies maximize revenue through smarter, more integrated experiences. Make more, save more, and do more. Visit csgi.com. Welcome to Toll Talk, the podcast dedicated to the tolling industry and providing professionals like you with the insights you need on what's happening in the tolling and transportation industry. This show will bring you the interviews with great leaders, innovators, and people who help shape our insight, policies, and technologies that are evolving our transportation landscape. So thank you for tuning in, and let's jump into this episode. Well, I'm excited to have on the show today none other than Mark Chung, who is the executive director, newly appointed executive director for the IBTTA, and he is the CEO of that organization. Mark, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. Really excited to be here.
That's fantastic. So, before we dig into, what's happening at IBTTA and your career path, tell us a little bit about Mark. Where are you dialing in from today?
Well, today I'm joining in from the Washington, D.C. area, where, as I think, as you know, as well as your listeners know, IBTTA is headquartered. And that certainly is an exciting place because this is where a lot of the work gets done, and of course, what shapes the future of mobility, as well as infrastructure and public policy, all kind of converge here. So it's an exciting place to be. I love DC. This is kind of like my new home, and really excited to be here.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, and speaking of, being here in DC, so where are you originally from? Where do you and your family reside?
Yeah, so we moved around a lot through my
Okay.
job relocations, but I personally grew up in Southern California in LA. Most recently, our home base was in Ann Arbor, Michigan for the last 12
Okay.
years. Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
And a couple of my family members are still there. My wife, who I've been married for 28 years, as well as
Congrats.
our second son is there studying at the University of Michigan. And of course, I have two others that one older that has graduated and now working, and with the youngest one just started school this last fall.
Well, that's phenomenal. Sounds like my two of my children are about the same age, so it sounds like you're that discovery phase for them. They're taking on the world, so it's an interesting time for sure. As a father, and just an admirer of seeing people go, so I'm sure you're seeing some of the same amazing things I'm seeing. So I do have to ask though, Mark, having lived in it sounds like quite a few diverse areas, do you pick up hobbies, or did you pick up surfing out in California or ski? Like, what are your pastimes with all this
Oh,
exposure? Curious.
no surfing.
Okay.
Yeah, but certainly, I do value spending a lot of time with my family, and of course, staying connected with the people who are the closest to me. But I do enjoy quite a bit of travel, um,
Okay, great.
and and a bit of a foodie myself, and I love to eat and cook. And in fact, I think as I was thinking about my hobbies, I think I really enjoy doing things with my hands. So
Okay.
whether it's like tinkering, and fixing stuff or cooking, I think I enjoy working with my hands and seeing sort of the gratification of the work.
Yeah.
And I think I'm someone who I would say that it really enjoys looking at the big picture, but also appreciates the simple human side of how
Yeah.
people experience the world.
Yeah. I'm a traveler as well. In fact, I just made my second trip to Japan this year. It's past 12 months. I've traveled there twice. And I'm always amazed, whether it be Japan, the Philippines, Sicily, anywhere I've gone. There's such a diverse culture but family is so important no matter where you go. But I think there's so many wonderful things to go out there and do and experience. So, I don't know about you, but I like to bring some of that back home with me. So I can relate to the travel bug. I don't know about you, but that's good stuff. So Fantastic. So tell me a little bit, tell our viewers here, Mark. You sound like you've been around this world, contributing and doing some amazing things there. What kind of sparked your interest in transportation and infrastructure?
Yeah, so I got started. Well, let me go back. Growing up in Southern California, you really can't help but to be fans of cars. The car culture is fairly strong out there, as you know.
Yeah.
So I had a strong interest in cars, and I want to join the automotive industry. And I was able to do so in 1999, and when I joined the Ford Motor Company. And back then, when I think about it, I didn't really make a connection that
Mm,
vehicles were part of this overall transportation network. And it was only, say, maybe 10, 15 years after that, I realized transportation is more than just, vehicles and moving
yeah.
people. It's about connecting people to, communities, and people, connecting people to opportunities and to
Yeah.
economic growth. And so I think when I began to sort of understand the role of transportation and its relation to society and the good that it can deliver, my interest deepened
Yeah.
to understanding now the sort of the broader infrastructure system, and how foundational it is to our daily lives.
Yeah. Well, that's really well said. I couldn't top that if I tried. I can just only affirm that it is very enlightening when you make that paradigm shift in your mind. So thank you for sharing that. And would you say that once that awakening happened for you, was that because of a certain event, or like what was it that really went from, again, working at Ford to looking at the grander scale, the macro version of transportation? Like, was there a particular moment that triggered for you?
You know, um, Not sure if there was a single moment, but I would say it was probably an accumulation of experiences.
Hmm. Okay.
Experiences that I had while, I was at different organizations, working on different projects. Before coming to IBTTA, I was at the National Safety Council, leading the
Okay.
roadway safety advocacy programming and research and government affairs work. And there I saw yet another aspect of transportation
Hmm.
infrastructure. And I think it just helped me, connect the dots even more. And I think I became just, more and more interested in the intersection of mobility and human behavior and
Okay.
risk, and of course, public good. And I think transportation is such a vital piece of our society at large that I just can't help but to be interested even more.
Right. Now, would you say, so thank you for that, because it kind of makes it almost more of an affirmation question. Would you say that when you saw this opportunity with IBTTA to be the new CEO, that just, did you see that like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for me, or this is what I've been waiting for? Like, what was that moment like for you? And what made you commit to IBTTA?
Well, there's a little bit of that, but I think what I was most intrigued by was that, well, I think at a macro level, the infrastructure system never
Yeah.
rests. There's always transformation, there's always evolution, there's always
Yeah.
new externalities that we have to think about. And I think with respect to the tolling industry, there are many externalities that are currently moving extremely quickly,
Right.
such as V2X technology, or technology in general, right? And
Oh
of
yeah.
course, you throw in there, the evolution of customer expectations with changing policy stance
Yeah.
by governments. Of course, you throw in their funding challenges. There's just so many different externalities that provide or create a dynamic situation. And I think if I learned anything in my past, whenever there's a dynamic situations like this, a tremendous amount of value to be unlocked. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
IBTTA has a wonderful opportunity to be have a seat at the table in unlocking that value and really having a leading voice in defining what the future of mobility looks like.
No, that's great. So now let me take it from that point. So once you you determined IBT was a great fit for you. Obviously, everybody has their expectations, and kind of give a nod what you also said. We get influenced by everything around us, whether it be Chick-fil-A, Delta, driving on the highway that particular day. Our experience as individuals kind of differ and change, and so that means everybody has what's important to them. So I'm kind of curious from your standpoint. Once you found IBTTA, and now you've been in your position now for how many months has it been?
3 months
Three
and
months.
6 days.
Okay, so still fresh. So I'm kind of curious, and I would believe our viewers are interested in what are your priorities right now?
Well, my priority right now is still to listen and learn.
Hmm.
And I think for that, I've put together a fairly structured listening tour, if you will, of talking to our members, as well as our board, our past presidents,
Yeah.
industry leaders, all try to learn as much as possible about what is truly important, where the
Right.
landmines are, and also how we as IBTTA can provide more value to our members and move the industry forward. So that is my priority. I think the structured listening tour, so to speak, is I think now at a sort of at the tail end of that process. I'm beginning
Okay.
to
Great.
form, I think, priorities on our side, on my side, and working with my staff to position IBTT for the future. And also, I think we have a tremendous opportunity in implementing a very well thought out and detailed strategic plan that we had developed last year. And that is truly exciting to make sure that we're able to do that successfully and to then move move industry forward and position IBTT to lead that charge.
That's great, Mark. And would you say, I'm kind of curious, is from your listening tour, which is well stated, by the way, I think that's a fantastic way to go about doing it. So my hat's off to you there. But through that process, as well as, coming on board and through your own process for yourself, what would you say was the most surprising discovering, the things that you discovered most about joining in this position? What have you found to be most insightful?
Um, I think I think probably the best word to describe it is just the complexity.
Hmm. Okay.
Complexity of the tolling industry, about the private and public side, the funding aspect, the technology, and we touched on this a little bit earlier about the customer expectations,
Yeah.
um, you know, um, the political nuances. I mean, you name it, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
very, very complex, and I think that's
Yeah.
been somewhat surprising because from the outside looking in, it's building bridges, it's building roads,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it can't, how difficult can it be? How
Can't be that
complex can it
hard.
be? Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is very, very complex. Now, that said, I've also been pleasantly surprised about how tight knit this community
Mm.
is and how tight knit this organization, IBTTA, is amongst its members, amongst its board membership. And,
Right.
I was told during the interview process about how tight knit and how family like this group is. And yeah, my mind is blown as to how
Yeah.
close and how tight these folks are. And it's truly like a family here.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know if you saw some of our previous episodes, but everybody we ever interview, they never find themselves starting in tolling. And then when they find themselves there, they are amazed by that. Even to myself, when I started here, I thought this would be a big industry. It's really a small industry in a lot of regards. It has such a big impact, but it is the people there. So, yeah, I even just recently interviewed Joy Dean, and, we had a great conversation with her. And, I think there is so much people don't understand that when you say close, they're close. So again, if you haven't, and for our viewers here, if you haven't seen some of these past episodes, go take a look. It's pretty enlightening, the consistency there. So yeah, definitely a close group. So kind of curious now. Now that you're here and you're getting situated, IBTTA plays a unique role in connecting agencies and advancing the industry as far as the collaboration goes. What do you see that IBTA's most important role in supporting these agencies around the world? Like, what role does IBTTA play there?
Yeah. So I could probably share with you one of the key takeaways from my structured listening tour, which has been
Great.
that um, the our members and the industry views us as that trusted convener,
Mm,
that connector, the catalyst that bring
yeah.
together the industry. Not only bring it together, but also to then enable um, uh, and arrange for opportunities for one to learn from each other,
Mm,
to share best practices, and to navigate the various complexities and the changes that they confront on a daily basis. And when I ask our board and our members, what's one thing that we do well?
yeah.
I think 9 out of 10 they'll say, yeah, you're that connector, you're that convener. You bring people
Mm,
together, and through that you set the stage for us to become even better. And I think especially in such a evolving environment such as the one that we operate in, I think that role is really becomes even more important.
that's great. And just if you could expand on this, and what do you envision? How do you see the organization evolving under your leadership now that you've said, you spoke to some people, what are we good at? What are we, where could we improve? That kind of essentially through that listening to her. Have you developed, I guess, a sense of how you see the organization evolving?
Sure. Well, I'll go back to sort of underscoring that I'm 3 months and 6 days into my tenure, so I may not have
That's
the
just an excuse. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, my new guy card just expired, right? But
Teasing, yeah.
I do see, I think first and foremost, IBTTA has just such a strong legacy.
Yeah.
We stand on the shoulders of those who basically made this special organization.
Hmm.
And so we want to make sure we honor that, we respect that, while at the same time becoming, even more strategic and connected and future facing. So that means that, we're going to really lean into, building partnerships across the industry. We're going to
Hmm.
lean into technology, and we're going to lean into developing thought leadership. And I know those are generic answers, but those are areas that I really want us to think about and to then
Yeah.
mobilize our resources to get better and create more expertise around. So
Yeah.
I think we help our members, obviously to respond to the changes that are happening and rapid changes that are happening within the industry. But I think we want to get to a level where we can actually help shape the future.
That's great, and I can appreciate. I mean, it is a complex industry, like you said, very complex, and but to have a vision and direction, it's not always nitty gritty at every little corner, but you got to keep the grand vision in line of sight, right? Keep your objective in front of you at all times. So I appreciate that, and I guess is there one particular initiative or priority that you're most excited to move forward with? Is there one aspect of it that not necessarily the highest priority, but just one you're particularly fond of?
Um, well, I mean, it's really hard to choose. I mean, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. But just being a bit of a tech geek myself, I'm really
Okay.
excited about the innovation and technology that I believe can really transform our industry. And I think could also deliver a tremendous amount of value to our customers and the public.
Okay.
I think that requires us to build bridges across the various, ecosystems and not just
Hmm.
amongst the sort of the peers that we work with currently. I think we have to challenge ourselves to look outside or think outside the box, so to speak,
Yeah.
and think of working with partners that are perhaps adjacent to our industries or perhaps even way out of our industry to see
Wow.
whether the technologies and the innovations that are being developed will be applied within our industry as well. So I think we're going to be really proactive in that, and to make sure that we're able to incorporate those types of best practices and technologies and ways of doing things, such that our industry can benefit as well.
That's fantastic. That really is exciting, and I think that there are so many industries directly, like you said, adjacent, or maybe not even directly that we can learn from. So traditionally, tolling can be while it does have a lot of technology, it's kind of a different frame of mind. It can be a little behind the times sometimes, but not out of lack of innovation, but because you can't push the latest and greatest out everywhere because the diverse audiences in which we serve, that drive on our highways, that use our tools, and that we serve in our organizations. So, but to hear you kind of reaching out beyond the industry, that's phenomenal.
Now a message from our sponsor.
The business of tolling is complex. Trusted by the world's most respected brands, CSG transforms every customer interaction, communications, billing, payments, and more into a smarter, more profitable outcome. Make more, save more, do more. CSG, solving tolling's toughest challenges simply.
Let's talk a little bit about you're coming in with initiatives and programs that you have, but then there's ones that you have to continue to that the whole membership has been a part of, and they're kind of curious, perhaps like maybe Be Safe Together campaign, right? How's that campaign been performing? I know it was relatively new to you, but as you look at the industry, where it started, and where we're at today with Bill and his work and his focus on that, and James supporting that initiative, it's been such a big initiative. I'm curious on how that campaign has resonated with drivers and agencies, and has the investment paid off, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, I think let's just first step back and talk about and recognize the issue at hand here. So we lose about 40,000 lives on our roadways every single year. That's roughly about 120 people per day.
Wow.
If you could imagine, a regional jet crashing every single day full of passengers, I think we would be asking for some type of a change and an immediate change.
Well stated.
And the fact that we haven't had that type of outcry, I think it goes to maybe underscoring that the public has somewhat been sort of callous and made almost accepting of 40,000 lives as the cost of driving, and which is really a disappointing situation, because we know every single one of those lives could have been saved, because traffic crashes and incidents are preventable, completely preventable. So I think now I just sort of set that up because to underscore the fact that it's a tremendous problem. It's a tremendous a cultural problem. It's a tremendous systemic problem, and I think it's an effort that we, along IBTTA, along with other advocacy groups, have to work together to move the needle and helping the public understand what this type of crisis is all about, and the role that they can serve in addressing this. So it's a shared responsibility across advocacy groups. It's a shared responsibility across society and down to the individual level. And I will say that the messaging that we have shared, I think it is moving the needle, helping at least, one by one, right? A single driver at a time, understand the implications of being safe and the benefits of being safe, and not only for themselves, but for their loved ones as well. So I think the messaging have been very effective because I think it really helps the public to engage in a more human and more relatable way.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and I appreciate the early analogy to kind of set the tone there. I mean, you're right. We'd be, yelling, screaming from the rooftops if a plane was crashing every day. It's a great example. Thank you for that. And I think that what I'm kind of curious about is, as a net result of that, is from that initiative, have you seen what progress have you seen essentially in how we're raising awareness from when we first initially started the campaign to promote road safety?
Well, I think it's next to impossible to draw a one-to-one correlation between our campaign to some type of a safety outcome. Now, that said, I'm so happy to share with you that in 2025, we saw a double-digit decrease on our roadways of roadway fatalities.
Oh, wow.
That's again a collective result. It's a result of all these advocacy groups, including ours, think our heads together, our resources together to help people understand about what their behavior on the roadway have sort of impact and implications on not only themselves but others. We're starting to see the benefits of that. So the first half of 2025, according to NHTSA's numbers, we saw a 13% decrease in roadway fatalities. That
Wow.
is tremendous. And it's
Huge.
been a long time since we've been under 40,000 fatalities per year. And so
Hmm.
we're going to most likely reach that in 2025. The final numbers have not been released yet. But I hope that by continuing these types of advocacy campaigns, that we're going to continue to then make a positive impact and help
Yeah.
push that number even lower.
Wow, that's a significant number of people that you're saving, and I think it's important for those who are not necessarily familiar with the campaign, or maybe they're very new to the industry, because this campaign's pretty new and active. It's but they might still be new to the industry. This initiative, and maybe you can recap it, is not just drivers. It's technology. It's engineering. It's affect the roadside workers, the driver who might be distracted by text. It's what I love about this, and maybe you can affirm if my understanding and the audiences understand this. It's a global, multi-level, multifaceted approach to global safety. Is that fair to say?
I think so, and I think it really embodies the safe system approach, which basically explains that when we drive, we're part of
Hmm.
the overall ecosystem of
Right.
connected systems that are represented by the infrastructure, the vehicle, the driver, um, and and first responders that are on the road.
Yeah.
When we can improve every single aspect of this system collectively, then we could benefit from a much more safer roadway. So our campaign does touch upon many pieces of the safe system, and
Right.
on a global basis, we definitely are planning to do so even more in the future.
That's great, and obviously, cross-agency participation is critical across the globe. I think that initiative, but I'm kind of curious. Have you identified maybe what the next steps are in continuing that momentum to keep this drive and this initiative to surpass their goals next year?
Yeah, so I think consistency certainly matters.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is to identify issues that are most acute.
Yeah.
And I think one area that we have a keen interest in is distraction.
Yeah.
We know that and you and I have seen people
Yeah.
drive distracted on the roadways, and we know it's extremely prevalent. And this is numbers, I think, put the number at around 3,000 per year, or
Mm.
3,000 lives lost due to distraction. But there are other studies that suggest it's maybe 3 to 4 times more than that, actually.
Oof.
It's a
Wow.
huge problem. And it's a
Yeah.
problem that I think we can really band around to focus on. So um, I think you will see some additional action on our side, from our side, on the topic of distraction. And by the way, this is not a U.S. issue, by the way. It's a
Yeah.
global
Correct.
issue that our global partners, I think, could also participate and help us in getting the message across.
Well, that's great. Thank you. And so, getting the message out there, we have an upcoming IBTTA summit, the Tech Summit, approaching quickly. Kind of curious as to you must be extremely busy. You and the team must be just heads down right now as we near that date quickly approaching. But can you maybe tell us a little bit about what's been happening and preparing for that event, and you know, what's the collaboration and knowledge share been like?
Yeah, so the Tech Summit in Orlando is our largest and fastest growing meeting. It's truly an exciting gathering for the industry. We're going to bring together about 1,000 or more industry leaders in one place to attend, as well as then share their learnings on how they're operating, how they're building things, and how technology is being applied in real world, so to speak. And of course, how agencies are modernizing polling systems and preparing for the next generation of infrastructure. So, as I mentioned, we have, 1,000 or nearly 1,000 leaders are expected to attend.
Wow.
We'll have over 75 exhibitors exhibiting their technologies and all the great things that they are bringing to the industry. We're also going to have very thought-provoking sessions, such as AI and advanced tooling systems and cybersecurity and connected infrastructure and others. And of course, no summit would be complete without sort of a hands-on tour. So we're going to be taking a tour with the Central Florida Express Authority (CFX). and
Yep.
learning about how they're operating the tolling systems and how they're applying technology. And of course, we're going to then cap it all off with interactive discussions as well as going through case studies on how agencies are deploying various different types of technology systems. So truly excited about this opportunity and this show. And we hope that your leader or your listeners could join us in Orlando.
Yeah, I can tell you is the Tech Summit as an IBTTA member, the Tech Summit is one of the highly anticipated events, just as much as annual. Don't get me wrong, but it's exciting to me because you do pick the conversations that are had, the discussions that take place. I think it's important for our listeners here, if you're watching this, you need to make it a priority to go. Don't delay. Make it a priority because at the end of the day, you're only going to be as effective with the insights and level of effort you put into making transportation and all the facts that are going is at the foreground of all your activities and conversations. Then you're able to be successful. So IBTTA's Tech Summit is a great venue for that and harnessing this. So please make sure you register. So Mark, let's talk a little bit about the agencies themselves and the Tech Summit. How does it help those agencies stay ahead of the technological changes that are taking place?
Well, there's a lot of changes that are happening, and it's really difficult with all the stuff that's going on a daily basis. We're all busy, right?
Yeah.
But by attending the Tech Summit, I think it really shortens that learning curve, and agencies could really get direct access to not only the innovators and the vendors, but also their peers, and thought leaders who are leading the industry and perhaps have already gone through resolving the issues that the agency leaders are trying to get through. So I think the opportunity to rub elbows with the peers and others that are leading the way, I think really helps people or organizations to move from just curiosity to action when they return on Monday to work.
Yeah, well, and I think it's important for not only the leaders of the corresponding agencies or vendors or companies, but to send the people from your team, the decision influencers, not just the decision makers, right? Because at the end, you can pick up so many different things, and you guys really foster that. And could you maybe share with the potential attendees, anybody going there, what those opportunities look like to learn about those technologies from the various leaders and innovators? Like, what format is it come in that they can consume?
Yeah, I think one of our strong suits, not only at this meeting, but I think in all of our meetings, is for attendees to hear directly from the people that are building stuff and implementing stuff and scaling solutions, and not just theoretically talking about them. So I think that creates an opportunity, a much richer environment for exchange of thought and also questions and answers. And I think that type of learning experience you really can't match because no amount of books, reading books, or no amount of Google searching will provide you the type of information, type of helpful knowledge that you can put into action as you would pick up at the Tech Summit or something, events like it. So certainly, I think will be a worthwhile event for people to attend, to not only to experience the summit, but also from a learning perspective as well.
Oh, that's great. Now, as we start to wrap up here, Mark, just a couple last questions I'd love to ask on behalf of our audience. And first, Mark, can you maybe just tell us a little bit about your personal perspective on, what you've been seeing in the industry and, overall, just kind of hear what your thoughts are on for example, the biggest influencers that you've seen here in this industry and where you should be paying attention to?
Yeah, so I think everything is becoming more and more connected. Mm-hmm. So our devices and our time and our communications it just brings us more and more closer, and we get more connected. I think the same thing will happen and is happening within mobility. And I think we really need to the tolling industry really need to embrace that and understand that, technologies or infrastructure considerations or implications that are brought on by, say, V2X technologies is something, or even autonomous vehicles and other sort of emerging modalities of mobility are uh, things that we really have to embrace and lean into. Um, and and because there's so many rapidly evolving externalities as the ones that I mentioned, I think that really makes it exciting and makes it interesting. And I think that creates for yet another opportunity for us to create value for our members and to move the industry forward. So that I think for me that is truly an exciting. This is a really exciting opportunity.
Well, that's awesome, Mark. With everything you have going on, your experiences that have brought you here, I would say, what keeps you motivated and passionate about the work that you're doing?
Um, I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's the change, um, the rapid changes that are happening around us and within the industry. I think provides an opportunity for us to have a stronger voice and to be a leader in setting the pace. I think that is really motivating and certainly helps me get up in the morning and do my job and lead the industry uh, and to achieve great things. So I think this is the change that provides the energy, and I don't think that's ever going to change.
That's great. Who would you say has been your biggest mentor or influence in your career to put you here today? Like, who was it, or what was that happened to influence you to be here today and be successful?
Well, there have been many, and I'd say that a lot of the managers that I met at Ford Motor Company and who took me under their wings, and quite honestly, kind of put me in my place. I think I have the scars to show for it. I think were tremendous influences, positive influences, my career, and I think the mentors definitely taught me that um, you know, it's not good enough to be smart and to know stuff.
Yeah,
Because there's always going to be people who know more and smarter than you. So I
sure.
think the key thing that I picked up along the way was, you have to be able to create a shared sense of purpose and
Hmm.
then create an environment where collaboration could happen,
There you go.
such that those smart people with all the great ideas can come together around the shared purpose and then collaborate to build something magical. And I think that's been extremely influential for me, and that's what I'm trying to implement here at IBTTA.
So, Mark, thank you very much. This has been a really insightful interview to get to know you, and hear about your background and the impact you're already seeing of what has been and what's going to come. So, I know the Toll Talk viewers greatly appreciate you taking the time to drop on in and listen. So, we hope you enjoyed yourself and that you'll maybe even come back again in the future.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun doing this, and certainly would love to see a lot of your viewers at the Tech Summit and the other events that we are putting on this year. Certainly excited to work with all the industry members, and really excited about what we can build together. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we hope you've enjoyed watching this episode. And we want to thank again Mark Chung for joining us here in Toll Talk and helping you stay connected with what's happening in the industry every day.